And welcome to everyone in the Ways of Israel. I usually don't do that much of videos in English since our focus has been for all these many years in the Spanish market in particular to educate people from Spanish-speaking countries and Spanish-speaking background about Judaism and Jewish law. I do want to take this video, however, to introduce the concept of trust in God. Now, there's a passage in Proverbs, chapter 3, that's a very popular one. It's one that I taught my children and had them repeat them and memorize it, and it's a very wonderful proverb. It's in Mishle, chapter 3. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all of thy ways acknowledge him." And this passage in chapter 3 of Mishle, of Proverbs, is one that creates a true confidence in God, in Hashem. And there are really different levels of trust in God. The level of one's trust in God depends on, number one, how strongly one is aware of and believes in God's way, in his goodness, in his divine providence, and the frequency with which reflects the idea of trusting God. So let's take a look at some of the levels of trust in God. At this first level, we find believers who need for trust in God is aroused only in situations which are beyond their control, such as illness, drought, crossings in ocean. And we can even say even when the situation is dire straits where the person finds himself or herself lost and in a state of despair. Chovot HaLevavot includes these people among those concerning whom it is written in the book of Jeremiah, in Yirmiyahu chapter 2, verse 27, "And in their hour of calamity they cry, Arise and save us." And they are nevertheless considered to be among those who trust in God. Interesting enough. Even when a person is hurting in a very difficult situation, he cries out to God. He's considered trusting in God or depending upon God. As they say, there's no true atheist, not even in the ditch holes of war. The second level of trust in God, many people thank God for their business or their success, attributing the positive results to God's assistance. However, this appreciation only reflects their behavior after the fact of succeeding. They did not put their trust in God to help them succeed in the first place. Third level, in others, I call that the post-trust factor. The third trust in God is on a yet a higher level. It's when someone who, when faced with something of great significance, relies on God to help him. But this person is still unaware of God's role in affecting man's thought, man's action, and even in matters of lesser importance. Onkelos, who, number one, was a convert to Judaism and was the nephew of Caesar, and who not only translated the entire Jewish Bible into Aramaic and gave a lot of midrashic interpretation to it, he said, and alludes to the concept in his phrase in Deuteronomy 8:18, "For he gives you power to become prosperous. He gives you the counsel to acquire wealth." So here we have that the very factor of understanding how to acquire wealth and how to become prosperous comes from God. To God it belongs the silver and the gold. Only after reflecting on the concept of trusting God will such a person come to realize that all his plans are influenced by God, who advises him concerning every detail on how and when to act, what and how much to purchase, and at what price, and when to sell. As it is written in Psalms chapter 73, verse 24, "With your counsel you will guide me," when he will also become aware of the fact that everyone who helps him is merely an agent, a messenger of God. His trust in God will increase even more so to the point where he will include God in all of his undertakings. In the words of the Gd Proverb, many people have a general trust in God, believing with perfect faith that everything is in his hands. However, the neglect of the neglect to apply their trust to every detail in their lives, to rely on God in every act of decision. It is concerning that Solomon says in Mishle chapter 3 verse 6, know him in all your ways, and everything you do, remember God, and consider that the performance of your action is totally in his power, not yours. Here we have that one does not deserve God properly by thinking of and turning to him, or when confronted by momentous occasions such as long and hazardous trips. On the contrary, one must rely on God's protection and direction, even when there is little danger or uncertainty. Rabbeinu Yonah explains that why people do not generally put their trust in God when performing small tasks. He writes that it is either because they feel confident when they're doing something easy, or for that reason, that failure would only result in insignificant loss. Therefore, the verses admonishes, know him in all your ways, referring to knowing God, in great and small matters alike. Since all acts are in God's hands and every success depends on his beneficence, man must remember him, remember God, in all that he does. One's service of God is imperfect if he neglects to call on and put his trust in him before his actions will have been crowned with success. There is the idea of a perfect trust in God. In summary, the highest level of trust in God is where one puts his trust in him before attending any of his concerns, while negating reliance on his own physical and mental prowess. In this world where we have so many people involved in the I-ism, I call I-ism being self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-important, self-image, and self-this and self-that, they negate the fact that God is the one involved in giving the final stamp of approval, whether the person will succeed or not. Such a person also believes that everything that happens to him, both good and bad, derives from God, and people must be more aware about the high levels or higher levels of trust in God, as it's mentioned in Chovavot Levavot. So this time, when we say know him, is actually creating an awareness of God in all of your life, in the good times, in the bad times, in the low times, in the medium high, in the high times. Know God in all of your ways, good or bad. And may Hashem give you a wonderful week, and may you have a lot of prosperity and success in everything you do. Shalom, and thank you for watching this video from the Ways of Israel.